Yay. Okay. Yay. So I absolutely love this book. And I've never read the book. I purchased the book. You purchased the book brand new because it has a code that can only be used one time. I have purchased the book used before, but only after I have my hands on it and I make sure that the part that's the code has not been tampered with. And it typically costs brand new $20, but you can find it on sale for $14 or $12. And but I don't encourage people necessarily to wait until they have time to read one more book. Yeah. I say, you know, you can read the first chapter, you can listen to me for a hot second, and I'll tell you. So you have the greatest potential to grow in your area of strength. And so when you take this test, they're going to tell you your top 5 strengths. And you can invest the rest of your life strengthening those strengths. And in the past, they wouldn't give you the full spread because our tendency would be go to the bottom and find out what we need to shore up on. That's just our tendency. So I don't recommend people to get all 34 because it's our tendency, because you can spend the rest of your life sharpening your strength, strengthening your strength. You know, people don't really care how well Tiger Woods can hit a baseball. No. His strength is hitting a golf ball. And his wife's pretty better with the bat, you know, but anyway. So I say take the test knowing that you're going to invest in those strengths. And when you go to take the test, be aware that they're not going to ask you questions that you would anticipate. They don't ask you to state, I'm an organized person, I'm an unorganized person. They say, I'm an organized person, I'm a spontaneous person. And the little thing is in the middle, and you have to slide it to the one you think is more true of you, to the degree you think it's more true of you. And the way the test works is you answer, 200 questions. And as you answer it, the answer drops into buckets. And your fullest buckets are your top 5 strengths. And then the insights guide, so the book will tell you what those strengths say, but the insights guide that comes to you is specific to how you answered those questions. So the degree that you move that little thing, it creates a sentence. And when they drop it in the bucket, then the insights guide's paragraphs are made up of those sentences. It is so specific to you that it almost feels like someone has hacked into your soul. But it's such a good indicator and insight into that other person. And I tell people it fast forwards relationships. It onboards teams so quickly because you don't have to do life with them for 5 years to go, oh yeah, spontaneity ain't your thing, is it? Like, you're analytic and you got to have all the lights be green before you're going to put on the gas and go forward. Like, there's nothing about that that's going to change. I mean, they can adapt. Some people, one of them is actually called adaptability. I don't think this test can be fooled. I've taken the test 5 times because I am a positivity wannabe. I've waited until I was not on my cycle. I was having a great hair day. It was a Friday or a non-Monday. And I'm just happy as a clam taking this test, and I'm still. So one time I took it and I was 5, and the next time I took it, and these 5 moved around a little bit, and one of them came in, so maybe that was like my top 6, but it's like solid on. And 15 years later, it is very much how I roll. So for example, we're going to talk about Kirsten today. And so she took her test. And y'all, I just want to point out some things that Kirsten has shown up and shown who she is already in the time that we've had with her. And it's just super fun. So Kirsten's strengths, her top 5 strengths are positivity. I knew I loved you. Maximizer, developer, arranger, and empathy. So if you have a spouse that you want to take the test and you want them to take the test too, then you can buy that book that Susan has that she just showed us. And your second book, you can purchase this one because it also has a code, the exact same code, and you don't need to own 15 of those other books, right? But when you have this one, it just gives you further insights into how to maximize those strengths. So when you look at it, there's a grid here that divide the 34 into executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. So those strengths that Kirsten has, positivity is a relational strength, maximizer is her influencer strength, developers a relational strength, arranger is her executing strength, and empathy is another relator strength. You don't have to know Kirsten 5 minutes to know that she relates well to people. And she's in the people business. Isn't that great news for her? She's not a cubicle girl. I mean, she'd have a party in the cubicle and invite everyone over. So,
what are the 5 different categories again?
What's that?
What are the 5 categories again?
They are executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic is another category. And hers don't fall into that. But those are the 4.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So in the Insights Guide, it literally gives us a paragraph about Kirsten. And she and I have been over this paragraph. And Kirsten, you're welcome to insert stuff too. But so let me tell y'all. Positivity. Instinctively, you sometimes infuse a spirit of fun into parties, meetings, gatherings, celebrations, classes, or work-related projects. Socializing may be a form of entertainment for you. Possibly your keen enjoyment of life renews your mental and physical energy. By nature, you may be more enthused about life when you partner, when you can exchange ideas with, entertain, or work with particular people. She gets to pick who she works with. Isn't that good news for her? You might prefer to be someone's partner or teammate. You might have little interest in working alone to coordinate the activities of individuals or groups. But isn't it interesting that of all of us, Kirsten raised her hand first to say, I'd like to coordinate our ongoing time together. Driven by your talents, you sometimes view your life more favorably when you can say, I gave that project my best effort and I am pleased about the things I did right. Chances are good that you may be content with the progress you've made personally and professionally. This particularly explains why you tend to see the brighter side of life. It's very likely that you like to lift the spirits of the people around you, and you know what to do and say so individuals feel useful, valued, appreciated, and important. So in this pod group, she has invited Carmen to share what she does. She's invited Rachel to do that part. That's so valuable. Thank you for adding value to our group. Like, this is Kirsten, and we get her. She's ours. So fun. So these are some of the challenges of her positivity. Okay, these are just notes that we wrote down and talked about together. I wrote all over these things, and I am going to mail these to you, Kirsten. I will. I just didn't want to give away my notes before we did this. So sometimes because of her positivity, like, we all have done enough life with her that we know she's genuine, but someone brand new meeting her would be suspicious and hold her at a distance, because no one can be quite that positive or that sweet or that others minded, or, you know, no one can be that genuine. So she increases the confidence of others as she believes in them and as they believe that she's genuine. So sometimes she has to do some life with them. Mm-hmm. But isn't it awesome that she's in the Juice Plus community? You do not require or expect perfection. She celebrates progress in people. You want to talk, or you amen and Denny?
I'm amen, and I'm also saying, isn't that your team name, Team Believe?
Yes, like you.
I know, and I love that. And just hearing this about you, of course, that's your team's name.
Yeah.
Right. So because she doesn't expect perfection, people feel safe to take risk. And so they get to make that step. So story creation workshops would be another good fit for her. And she inspires hope. She laughs, she celebrates. Remember, it's talking about music and her energy. She fuels a culture that fuels her bottom line. A positive culture that she protects. So my girl, Laura, she built a whole bunch of activity on Facebook, and Facebook was kind of getting out of its boundary. Like it was taking over her life. And she's like, I think I'm going to come off of Facebook for a little while. I'm like, whoa, don't do that. So momentum is something that we create, and then we have to steward it. We can't create it, let it overwhelm us, shut it down, and then have to start it again, right? So this positive culture is that thing that Kirsten has to steward and protect it from negative energy, because that is the culture of her team. And just like momentum, she does that. So, and she helps plan events. Like that would be a jam thing for her. And Kirsten has actually come to Charleston before to do events. She has like one team member in Charleston, and she came when we hosted Jay Martin. Mm-hmm. And she was such a big part of that and just fabulous. So I just have so much gratitude for her. Okay, so the second strength of hers is maximizer. Do you have these in front of you, Kirsten?
No, they're on my computer.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm watching, so they're not.
Okay, that's fine. So as a maximizer, the way that she stands out is that she's likely to give, I'm talking about Kirsten now, you are likely to give yourself some credit now and then for creating a streamlined process and efficiency, creating orderly and efficient ways to do things benefits you. Sometimes you practice using your natural abilities rather than dwell on your limitations. So StrengthsFinder being a part of your team it just makes sense for you to employ this tool, because you don't expect perfection. You give people the freedom to take risks. And when you can hack in and jump into, okay, these are your strengths, let's roll, that just makes perfect sense. Because you are aware that you make more progress or do things better when you build on talents and strengths. So StrengthsFinder really resonates with you because of your maximizer strengths. So Chuck and I both have maximizer, and our oldest son has maximizer. And that positivity in me heard this from my son, and I went, oh goody, isn't that fun that we all have this strength together? And my son is also analytic. So he says, he's listening to me. And Chuck has strategic. And I'm just over here so happy. And I said, doesn't that sound fun? We all have maximizer. So maximizers don't take broken things and fix them. They take good things and make them better. So when I said, oh goody, we all have this, my son said, it sounds like a dog fight to me. Like, because I have it good and I made it better. And then he says, you know how it could be better? And I'm like, I already made it better. And he's like, no, it could be even better and even better. And it is a dogfight. That analytic son of mine was dead on. So I've experienced that a lot. But maximizers take something. So don't be offended if they show up in your world and you are a maximizer, because they will just fine tune it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So I was involved in a learning partnership with children learning, and my husband was pastor at Citadel Square downtown. And I was with children's ministry, and I did this ministry with these children for homeschooling in the same building. And I would come home after a day of school and I'd go, oh, so fun. Oh my gosh, these people are amazing. And, the thing I did with church was so challenging, and it was just, so I would tell this pastor, oh, it's so fun, and this is awesome, and I'm just directing traffic for a bunch of people who just want to love on each other. And he'd listen to me and he'd go, you know how that could be better? I went, oh, are you kidding me? Like, this is far superior to anything I have going on in my life. And I was so offended. But I realized that over the years, everything about that ministry has gotten better and better and better and better because I keep him in the conversation. I don't hold him at arm's length. So, okay. Your strength finder at Maximizer, you set others free to shine in their spots. For you, things are not one size fits all. You're not interested in a cookie cutter approach. And you help identify the brilliance and help find complementary partners would be good for you to help people realize those analytics that can't bust a move. You know, partner them up with an achiever or an activator that's going to get that ball rolling and move them out of their perfectionism. I've got to have it all answered before I can move forward. Study your successes. And this is true for all of us. Like, if we will sit and think, reflect back on a time when you were fully engaged in something, a project, an assignment, a social gathering, whatever, and you just could feel your heart sing. And then dissect that and say, what about that made my heart sing? What was I doing? What role was I playing? Who was I involved with? Like, what about that? And then do that more. That's more of the book, Go Live Your Strengths. But that would serve us all well, and it feeds the soul of a maximizer to really dissect and evaluate. So study the successes, the high moments, what felt good about that experience. Okay, can y'all just see how Kirsten was made for the Juice Plus community? And number 3, developer. So what does that sound like? We develop people. We're in the people business. So doing journey with people. By nature, you occasionally interpret the moods of people. And she has the ability to actually walk into a room, an event, a training, a home, or whatever, and feel the energy in the room. And her positivity is going to change the energy in the room. But sometimes positivity shows up, they don't have a clue that everybody is sad and grieving or mad at each other. They're just showing up and everybody's looking at them like they don't have a clue because they don't. But she's got positivity and she has developer. So she can go into a room and almost like take the room's temperature and change it. So how important is that to have someone like that on your team that says, this room needs some music. This room needs some happy games, or come on, let's get talking. Let's share around the room. Let's share some stories. It is very likely that you may thrive when you have opportunities to mentor, to advise, or train individuals. You exhibit raw talent and untapped potential. By telling others some of your experience and listening to theirs, does that sound like storytelling? You create an environment in which people are free to ask questions and expand their thinking. You read people and you predict, and if you already have a relationship with them. You help other people discover their potential, you see it, and offer to help them develop it. And if they've had some life with you and they see that positivity, they see that you can identify things that they might doubt about their own goodness. They would, I'm just a regular, no, you're really good at this. You're amazing at this. And so as they relate with you and have time with you, they would believe in themselves where otherwise they wouldn't. And still, some people would question your motives because you're others-minded, and that's not prevalent in our culture. You nurture. Watching other people grow and develop delights your soul. That fuels you to do more of it, and other people can't figure out why you do it in the first place. And then as you do it, you want to do it more. And they think, oh, she'll do that for a little while and then she'll steam down. No, watching them grow and change just powers you up. So you continue. And that is the other sweet, sweet piece about identifying your strengths and living in your strengths. Because if you hang out there, you could go to an event And if you walk in that event and your assignment to serve that event is within your strengths, you can show up tired and leave with energy. So show up, sign up for your strengths. I used to go to church meetings and I would just drag in tired homeschool mommy, and wait, and everybody sign up for stuff, hope they don't need me. And then I'd get the slim pickings at the end, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. And this taught me to go in there, raise your hand, say, I'll do this because this is not hard for me. And then I'll check it off and I'll wake up ready to do it because that's not hard. Of course, no problem. I'd be happy to do that. Whereas if I just get the slim pickings at the end, I go in with dread, I leave exhausted. That doesn't serve anyone well. So knowing who we are and offering our strengths first serves the world better. And there's that quote too. This is a civil rights leader. He's on my office wall, but I don't know him. I don't know his name right now. But he says, do not ask yourself, what does the world need? Ask what makes you come alive and go do that thing, because what the world needs is for you to come alive.
It's such a good quote.
Big hint into what makes you come alive within your strengths. And I don't know a better tool out there to hack in and really help us see what it is. Okay, so it makes sense because of this developer strength that Kirsten be the team leader, because she's going to see value and she's going to coordinate. You protect struggling team that need to make a decision. So she tries to develop people that don't necessarily want to play. So we all do that in some way, but this is where it shows up for her. She's trying to help them do it. She's doing it for them, not with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we, Kirsten? You are a safe zone and you help others grow beyond and share. So you share the progress you see. So when people are here and they want to go here and they get like right around here and they just know they're not finished. They're just not at the finish line. But Kirsten has a way of coming in and saying, oh, no, you're not there, but look at where you are. Oh, my gosh, look at how much has happened. And again, that's storytelling, and we get paid to tell stories. So she shares the progress that she sees and even help people set a good goal. Some people say, I want to be an MD by morning. That's crazy. But you knowing how people and knowing what you see in them and even the trappings of their life, their season and all of that, you could help them set a goal that they could feel really good about getting to because they'll see the progress about it. So being involved in helping them do that. Okay, another strength of hers is arranger. So she's been arranging our schedule, making sure, people are available to do this and that. And she arranged the time that we could gather together. She keeps up with who's coming and who isn't coming. She does roll calls. She's such a good, she serves us really well. So the arranger strength. So as an arranger, you might get arranger, and what I say right now about Kirsten doesn't resonate with you at all. Arranger could arrange schedules. They could arrange people resources. They could arrange furniture. They could arrange an event. They could arrange a schedule of, no, we need to have this after this. Like arrangers, it's not limited to what you might first think as an arranger. So I have arranger as one of my strengths, and I run a school for homeschooling children. So I move resources and classrooms and teachers and ninth graders to make sure they can take biology when the microscopes are available. Like I'm arranging a bunch of stuff all at the same time. But I do love to arrange furniture, and Chuck hates that about me, but that's all right. He knew it. I met that guy when we were on a camping trip, and I rearranged furniture in my tent. So, he should have seen it coming. But anyway, okay. So you occasionally provide your teammates with a logical perspective on things. You might show your partners how one action or one single comment caused something unexpected to occur. So one thing occurred to another. Experience might be one of your best teachers. This particularly explains why you do not automatically orchestrate an event or plan a schedule. It's not that cookie cutter thing. You let context influence you. You allocate resources. You don't necessarily allocate resources the exact same way you did it last time. So you probably, when you do an event, you evaluate an event. You say that went really well, that didn't go so well. Maximizer would make you do that too. And you don't necessarily say, oh, this is how we do it. I mean, if you were in charge of a church service, you wouldn't necessarily start out with 2 hymns, you know, this and a preacher and then another. You wouldn't necessarily do that. You would plan an experience for people rather than just a cookie cutting. By nature, you now and then sense that you are intrinsically tied to your teammates. Maybe you understand that your success depends on each of them. You're in the Juice Plus business. That's such good news. Just as individual successes hinge in some measure on you. So you get paid to help them be successful, and then your success hinges on their success. Such a beautiful sentence for what we do. Chances are good that you periodically interject a bit of fun, energy, lightheartedness into team activities. You enjoy transforming an individual or group's mood from sad to happy. Perhaps you remind people that life is too short to waste any time being bored, angry, upset, frustrated, or miserable. You mentor and you mentor people, but then you also walk in your own life because you are a mentor. You walk in your own life in a way that you want to make your mentor proud. Because you see that as life-giving. When you see someone else flourish, you want to give that experience to the one who's mentoring you. So all of that makes for a really big, strong work ethic. You position people for success. So if you were doing an event and you put someone to work at the registration table or, you know, brought jars or whatever job, you're going to do that where you arrange people to do what it is you see them come alive doing. You employ this to help you employ this to help people on your team that feel overwhelmed. You come along and you say, oh, but what would give you life? What would give you energy? And I mean, how many of us have had someone rocking and then all of a sudden they're out of the game because they're so overwhelmed with life. You know, life happened. Life is happening. You know, we got to figure out how to walk through life because life is happening. So you provide steady leadership because of a ranger. And then her 5th strength listed here is empathy. And we've heard Brene Brown just tell us how important empathy is. So instinctively, you may detect who does and does not want to be your friend. But again, we talked about this, that some people may not want to be Kirsten's friend because they don't see her as genuine yet. Right. So a protection for her heart would be to say, I'll show them, you know, I know that this is the way it is. And the stories we make up in our head, right? So being okay with, they're probably making up a story that I'm not being genuine, but to lean in with curiosity rather than offense and say, well, she didn't really, and we've all had team members who sponsor someone who didn't really jive with us. I remember early on I had someone sponsor someone and she didn't even want me to know her events were occurring in Charleston. Like, she didn't want me to come. She's like, don't even tell her because she'll show up and she'll hug everybody. Like, yes, I will. I hugged her. Oh my gosh, who would have ever thought that would be such an offense? But I did. And I'd do it again, by golly. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because I know that is not desired by her. But anyway, okay. Your feelings can be bruised when people openly dislike or reject you. But again, they're trying to figure out if you're genuine. You occasionally give yourself credit for overcoming certain problems and conquering specific obstacles. Maybe your ability to find solutions, again, that's the arranging. Arrangers move things around and solve problems. your ability to find solutions contributes to your optimistic attitude. There's positivity again. Sometimes you notice certain individuals who are easily defeated by life's challenges. So the developer in her comes along and helps them see the good and not be overwhelmed by those challenges. You might try to help them cope with their difficulties. There's developer again. You can encourage people to take action. They may feel a little better about themselves and about life in general if you can find that little piece. And again, it's empathy showing up, saying, I hear you, I see you, you know, I'm sorry that that's happening, and then telling them what you see. Perhaps you instinctively notice who's having fun and who's not. These insights might affect how you interact with that individual. By nature, you may be pleased with teammates trust you enough to tell you about their ambitions, their doubts, their suggestions, their worries, their plans, concerns, and questions. So helping them with their why, really digging it out. You're going to be good at that, and that's going to feel good that they would trust you with that information. And again, you're that person that makes them feel safe. So if they say, my why is I want to fix this really big problem in my family, they're going to feel back from you belief that that can happen, and a timeline that's believable to get. If their goal's big, the timeline just may need to be longer. But then if you see them moving faster toward it, then you can adjust it. And the developer in you would do that. So chances are good that you may sense more strongly than others that sometimes it is best to trust your instincts. So trust your instincts. That is your gut feeling when you are deciding how to resolve issues, complaints, grievances, or puzzles. Sometimes you feel before you know how to interpret what you feel. Trust that gut. You celebrate other people's successes. So empathy is not just, you know, rolling around in the mud and saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you celebrate well because of empathy. You can measure the energy in the room because of empathy. You are non-judgmental because of empathy. Play the long game in time and space for a situation to sort out. So your empathy allows you to not say, well, I'm going to call her and straighten this out right now. You know, you play the long game and let people journey with you as they trust you and they share with you. And people want to align with you and build with you because of this. And they learn from you, and you need to align yourself often with positive people because you're mentoring and you're managing and stewarding that positive culture that you're creating. And some of it, you won't have a whole team of positivities. You might get someone like me who just wants to be positive, but cultivating that and you'll align with them. They'll positivity people will meet you and believe you're genuine because they are. They have no cause to doubt you until you hurt them, and then they're like, oh, they're not one of us. They're not part of my tribe. So I hope that's helpful. And that's what awaits each of you as you would just lean into this. And I did reach out, and I know, Denny, you said your life coach does this too. So my husband's been doing this for 20 years. And one of the girls that he coached actually became a StrengthsFinder coach as well. And she's certified with Gallup and all of that. And so I did reach out to them, and they said that they would spend an hour with anyone who would want to get kind of the in-depth just dialogue and how do I put this to work. And they would even tell you, because you're analytic, you need to tie yourself to an achiever. And what's exciting is when your spouse takes it, oftentimes the people that they're saying, buddy up with this person or that person, it's often your spouse or your favorite team member. So as more people begin to do this and you get to learn about them, you realize, that's why we do so well together. We're balancing and strengthening one another. So they did quote me like $75 for an hour. And Denny, maybe your girl, I don't know if she'd do otherwise, but if you'd prefer a girl, then I've got Jody who would do it. And if you prefer to hear a male perspective, or if your husband wants a male perspective, my husband would do it. That's a reduction from his normal coaching price, but he's like, StrengthsFinders, easy. Like, I could so do that. So no problem. And he always does his coaching at a discount for anybody in the Juice Plus community anyway. So that's all I have, y'all. But we took 45 minutes to unpack Kirsten.
Well,
And you'll have to text me your mailing address so that I can put this in the
Okay.
mail before I go to Paget's, okay?
Okay, I will. One thing I wanted to say, I was so excited about Anita bringing this to us, several weeks ago when you first mentioned it in our group, when I got that, because one of the things, Danny, I think you and I had talked about this, and a whole bunch of us had on our chat, was just, when we become an NMD and we really are on our own, how do we make this work in our strengths and really owning this for ourselves? And that's something that I've always had a harder time with, because Juice Plus can be somewhat streamlined. This is how you do it, this is how you talk to people, we do the presentations, we do all this kind of stuff, but yet we do attract so many different people as you look around in your own business. The introvert, the extrovert, the older, the younger, male, female, we've got it all. And how do you really help people when they don't like to talk on the phone, or say they don't like social media or whatever? We really need to find out their strengths. And I think a lot of times we focus, like you were saying, Anita, on the weakness. Well, this is an area you've really got to work on, because if you want to present, or you want to work with, you got to like people. So we got to work on this weakness, or whatever it is, where no. We need to find the strengths, because that's what's going to light us up. That's what's going to light up our team. And just in the process of doing this, Anita, with you, and going through the Strength Finders, now I know why people misjudge me. I'd never heard that before with the positivity thing, but I have felt that. And I have felt that wall where people are like, oh, you're just always so happy. They don't believe I'm genuine. They honestly don't. And I don't understand it, because especially with that empathy side of me, I'm very genuine. And I really want to know you, and I care about you, and I want to talk to you. And I am going to see the best side of things. That's the way I've always seen my life. And I just always say that's a God-given, what he gave me. He made me, I always see the glass half full. I can't see it another way.
The other thing about your arranger gift is sometimes an arranger shows up at a party and you like to arrange people. And so you might stay with someone and talk to them, and an inquiry could sound like an interrogation, like as you're wanting to get to know them, because you're trying to figure out how to align them in your life and find a connection. And they're like, what is she trying to get me roped into? But your desire is genuine. You're trying to find a connection with them. So that arranger piece can cause them to do this too. They think, ooh, she's trying to get me to volunteer to give my life away and something. And
it's just so interesting. So I'm excited for all of you guys to do this. And I love, Anita, that you do it with your team, with your leaders, because I have a leader on my team that I really don't understand. I can't quite figure it out. And, I know that this is going to really help me, so that I understand how to bring out their strengths, understand, because maybe we have a polarization that I don't know. I want to get that book.
So
I have a question.
There's another book that is green, and it's called Teaching with Your Strengths. And don't let me forget to tell you how I use it with my team. Okay. But it's called Teaching with Your Strengths. And it does a beautiful job of saying in this book, we're all teachers. But if I'm teaching a history class, if I'm teaching, and I would be inclined to teach history, I'm going to tell stories. My top strength is communication. And my next one is woo, which stands for win others over. So I'm going to tell you a story, and I am going to make it fun. And that's the way I would teach a classroom. But an analytic would draw a timeline or a bar chart or something. And they're both going to teach the content, but they might set up this beautiful outline with Roman numerals and capital letters, and that's the way an analytic would walk you through there. Whereas someone with the strength with the same task would say, let me tell you a story. Let me just sit here and tell you the story. And you'd want to tell them a story that would just stay with them and they would never lose it. So the way that we use this and when we use this with our team is when they get to sales coordinator. So, you know, I have a bunch of those little apples, but I like to give people a tool to keep moving. And when you're a sales coordinator, there's a little team. Like if you look behind you, there's some people. There's some people to lead back there. And so to begin to build them and affirm them and their leadership is a big deal. So before conference, we have them take that assessment. We ask them to exercise some self-control and not read it and send it to us. And then we print it and we put it in a small 3-ring binder, and we print the cover of the book and put it in the top thing. And we pass it around at conference and let their team write in it and say, I see this in you. We don't copy it double-sided so they can write. It's like writing in a yearbook, okay? And I always say, they used to print out all these activities and stuff, and it was like 27 pages of the book of Anita. It was so insightful. And, you know, now they do like 7 pages. I haven't figured out how to get the activities guide print out too, so you can put it in the book. But we pass it around so that their team, their upline and their downline, can say, oh my gosh, this is how you show up for me. So when you have one of those days that you're like, what am I thinking? Why am I here? What am I doing? You can read it, and it is the biggest, longest love letter to your soul that affirms who you are. So that is why we use that for our team. And then the standout book we give to the next promotion, which used to be senior sales and now it's QSSC. And Strengths Finder takes you apart and tells you your top 5 strengths. Standout weaves you back together again and tells you 2 things about you. And then it has a sentence that kind of says, this is who you are. So my 2 are creator and connector. And when they weave that together, they said, you are an alchemist of relationship. You were put on this earth to put people together. So if I wanted to quit Juice Plus, like where in the world could I go to work where I get paid to put people together in a way that they love and enjoy? Like, I can't even believe I get paid to do exactly what I was put on this. I would do that whether I was at church or in homeschooling or whatever. And really, when I first started doing Juice Plus, and I was so excited about it, and I was telling an old church children's leader about what I was doing, and I said, oh, girl, I got this little team, and we're doing this, and my girl really loves to do this and loves to do this, and I just am loving it. And she started laughing at me. So she's very intimidating because she's an attorney and a CPA. She's brilliant, and I'm just oozing all this over her. And she started laughing, and I went, what? And she said, Anita, I have known you for 25 years, and you have done that for the last 20, every minute I've known you, you've done that, but you've never found a business model that paid you to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, now she's the smartest person I know. So for her to say that to me, like I wrote it in my book, Beth thinks this is brilliant for me to do this. So that's how we use it for our team.
Well, first of all, I didn't know you were so incredible. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like I want you to be my mentor in life.
I'm 55, so you know.
Oh my gosh, I felt like this was a therapy session, and you were talking about Kristen. I mean, like I felt like you were. That's so funny. But anyway, okay, I am misunderstanding. Okay, so I have to buy the book in order to get the code to take the test online.
Yes,
that's how it works.
In the book,
and then
there's a little thing in here that you tear it open and you scratch it off, and it can only be used one time. Now, I do think you can buy the code online, but I mean, you can do it however, but you could probably find the book. Like I went to a used bookstore and I found 3 of these for $4 a piece. but I just went in there and made sure that little thing was not ever torn open.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's $20. I mean, you don't need
So
to
I'm like super impatient. So if I were to Google this,
Mhm.
I could potentially take it and like do this afternoon. Like that's how quickly. it's gonna be
Yes.
ordered. But
You can.
you
Yeah.
should have somebody like dissect your results for you.
It's super fun to have someone, but you could pick a best friend. I mean, you don't have to have a coach. It's just, so that coach, Jody, my staff at school are largely women. And so, and Chuck trained Jody. And so I knew her. And my nonprofit has been established for 18 years and we've never done this before. We did it 2 years ago. They are still talking about it.
Wow.
And they are still finding more ways to merge their lives together and more serve people. Like it was just it's such an affirming exercise. And you might read it, and I always say read it and highlight the parts that just really sing, and then maybe put a little wiggly line under the, I don't know. And sometimes the coach can help you with that I don't know, because they may come at it another way and say, okay, well, do you ever see this happen? Because that's that too. So,
And Julie, you're going to find what's so cool about after you take the test, you know, they're going to send you this insights guide. So a lot of what Anita read about me, I have a copy of that. And it is this long paragraph or page that is talking about you, and the positivity or whatever it is that you have is going to be different because they're taking the other 4 into account.
Right.
So it's not general.
Right.
And so the nice thing about the book is that it has all 34, you know, so you can listen to like a general one, and then you're going to get your insights that's going to tell you more about you. And then it gives you like things to do, like strategy, like this is how you can better, you know, strengthen your strength, or this might be a weakness of your strength, or, you know, they do give you a lot of activity, and you can research more and more through Gallup online.
Yep.
So, and I mean, like, I want to give it to my whole family for Christmas.
Yeah.
I want us to sit and discuss it and talk to my boys about it. And, you know, it really was amazing to have Anita go through it with me, because she edified me so much in what she saw. And then you see the connections, you know, between those. Because at first I didn't, like the maximizer and the arranger, I didn't really connect with. It took her to kind of talk me through that, to really, because I find them much more relational, which were the other 3, you know, but you have to be able to utilize that and express it and execute it. So this is how you do it. It's really cool.
In our school, I actually give the StrengthsFinder book as a gift for our seniors. And I explain it in front of the whole year-end program for families. And it's all about helping the family get the most out of that college dollar. Like really lean into something that, I mean, I went to school for accounting, y'all. I mean, I don't even know why. Like, I know people. My mama said I was good at math and said, you should be a CPA. And I didn't know what CP or A stood for. I just said, yes, ma'am, and did it. When I did this test for the first time, we had done our first year of school. So this was 19 years ago. And the first year, I have a ranger too. We were doing our year-end program, and I knew somebody needed to MC and tell our story, but somebody needed to be on the back, making sure the kids got out on stage and all that. And I gave away the position of being at the microphone to share. And my top strength is communication. So my instructions said you should pursue opportunities to present. And I gave that away. You know why I gave it away? Because I valued it and thought it was so magical.
Sorry.
So I've got to plug in, Denny, or I'm gonna go away, and I won't want to, but let me find my plugger.
Hey, you guys, do we want to meet next? You know what? Let me go ahead and pause the record. Let me stop the recording.